Somewhere in your house right now, there's a corner you've been avoiding. The back of the garage, the shed you locked up in October, the crawl space, the basement, the cabin you haven't opened since last summer. And one of these weekends, you're finally going to deal with it. Gloves on, trash bags out, maybe a broom. That ordinary little chore, the one your whole weekend's been building toward, is one of the most dangerous things you could possibly do. Because right now there's a word in the news that most people can't even spell. Hantavirus. This virus just killed 3 people on a luxury cruise ship, and the people who died started out feeling like they had nothing more than the flu. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to tell you exactly what this thing is, the one cleaning mistake that could actually expose you to this virus, and why, despite headlines that sound like 2020 all over again, this is almost certainly not the next COVID, if we play our part. Hantavirus comes from rodents. Mice, rats, their urine, their droppings, their saliva. You breathe in the dust, you get sick. That's the whole story for almost every version of it. So how on earth did it end up killing people in the middle of the ocean on a ship surrounded by water? Hold that thought, because the answer is the strangest part of this whole outbreak. First, let's get our heads around what we're actually dealing with, because the fear and the facts are pretty far apart here. Hantavirus isn't new and it isn't some lab creation. There are around 40 different strains spread across the world, carried by different rodents in different places. In the United States, it's been tracked since 1993, and in 3 decades, from 1993 to 2023, there were fewer than 900 cases total. Let that land. 30 years, under 900 people. This is rare, genuinely rare. The way it normally works is quiet and almost boring. A mouse moves into somewhere undisturbed. A shed, an attic, a vacation cabin, the back of a garage, and it leaves droppings and urine behind for weeks or months. Then a human shows up, disturbs all of it, and breathes in what gets kicked into the air. There's no mouse bite, no dramatic encounter, just dust you didn't know was dangerous. So if it lives in rodents, and you catch it from rodent mess in closed-up spaces, how did it get onto a cruise ship? This is the twist. The strain behind this outbreak is called the Andes virus, and it's the one hantavirus on Earth that breaks the rule. It is the only one known to spread from person to person. The first passengers had been on a bird-watching trip through South America before the cruise, through exactly the kind of rural spots where the rodents that carry the Andes virus live. They got infected the normal way, and then, on the ship, in close quarters, it did the thing almost no hantavirus ever does. It jumped between people. Now I'm sure the moment your brain heard deadly virus and spreads between people and on a ship, it goes straight to one place: COVID. So let's deal with that head on, because it's probably the real reason you clicked. Is this the next pandemic? Short answer, almost certainly not. And here's what the scary headlines leave out. Yes, the Andes virus can spread person to person, but it is terrible at it. It doesn't hang in the air across a room the way COVID did. It needs close, prolonged contact, the kind you get living in the same house, sharing a bed, or caring for someone who's already sick. The world's top infectious disease people have been blunt about this. The CDC has said plainly that the risk of a pandemic from this is extremely low, because it does not spread like a respiratory pandemic virus. The head of the World Health Organization's emergencies work said flatly that this is not COVID and not the flu. It spreads very, very differently. A former head of the FDA put it in one line: it spreads far less efficiently. And that is exactly where your part comes in. The if we play our part I promised you. A pandemic doesn't happen because a virus is deadly. It happens because a virus is contagious. COVID spread because you could catch it from a stranger walking past you, days before they even knew they were sick. This doesn't do that, which means the boring, unglamorous tools actually work on this one. Keeping rodents out, not stirring up their mess, keeping someone away from others in those first sick days, when they're most contagious, basic care and hygiene around anyone who's ill. The virus is bad enough at spreading that ordinary caution wins. So, if the outbreak is contained and it's far away on a ship, why should you, sitting at home, care about any of this? Because the version that should actually be on your radar was never on that ship. It's the one already living in your own country, in the rodents in your own region. You are not going to catch the Andes strain from a cruise you didn't take. But that shed, that cabin, that's a completely different conversation. And this is where it stops being a news story and starts being about your Tuesday. Here's what it does to a person and why it's so easy to miss. It starts as the most ordinary thing in the world: fever, aching muscles, chills, maybe an upset stomach. It feels exactly like the flu, so people shrug it off. They take something for the fever, they go to bed, they wait it out. And for a few days, nothing tells them they're wrong. Then, in the serious cases, it turns. The lungs start filling with fluid, breathing gets hard, and it can go downhill fast. That gap, those few quiet days where it's hiding behind a flu costume, is exactly what makes it dangerous. People wait too long. And here's the part that surprises everyone, and it's where I come in as a pharmacist. There is no medicine that cures this. Nothing on my shelves touches it. Antibiotics? Useless. It's a virus, not bacteria, and reaching for leftover antibiotics from the back of the cupboard does nothing but burn time you might not have. There's no vaccine you can go and get either. The thing that actually saves lives isn't a medicine at all. It's getting to a hospital early, where they can support your breathing with oxygen. And, in the worst cases, machines that do the work your lungs can't. Early is everything. Recognizing it is everything. So, if you've been cleaning out somewhere rodents have been, and a few days later you're hit with a flu that feels worse than any flu has a right to, that one detail, "I was cleaning up mouse droppings last week," is the most useful sentence you can hand to whoever's treating you. Say it out loud. It changes what they go looking for, which brings us all the way back to that corner of your house. And the one mistake that turns a harmless chore into a real risk. When most people find mouse droppings, they do the natural thing. They grab a broom, or worse, a vacuum, and sweep it all up. That is the single worst thing you can do. Sweeping and vacuuming blast those dried particles straight up into the air, which is the exact cloud you do not want to breathe. So here's the right way, and it costs you nothing. Open the windows and doors first and let the space air out for a good while before you even go in. Then don't touch anything dry. Soak the droppings and the area with a disinfectant or a bleach and water solution, leave it to sit for a few minutes, and only then wipe it up with paper towels and gloves on. Soak it, never sweep it. That one change is the difference between a chore and a hospital visit.